BW stands for Business Warehouse. And the current version of the BW system is 7.3. So before we get into the technical details of BW 7.3, let's first start out with an introduction. So let me actually start off with myself. My name is Suman Iyer. Let me write it out here. I have over 12 years of working experience in information technology. All the 12 years have been in business intelligence and data warehousing. So I have 12 plus years of IT experience. And in this 12 years, 11 years I've been working on SAP BW. So since 2002, I've been working on SAP BW. I've been working on several versions of SAP BW, and I have implemented over 9 full lifecycle implementations and done several SAP BW upgrade projects. So let me chronologically give you an information on what I have done. So in the year 2001, I started working for a fast food consumer good company, and I started working in a tool called SAS, which is Statistical Analysis Software. I was purely working on business intelligence, doing data mining and data warehousing based projects. In 2002, the company that I was working for actually went into SAP products, and they started buying all SAP related products, and that's when they got SAP BW, and I was sent for SAP BW based training to Philadelphia with SAP company. So that's how I started off my career with SAP BW. So when I initially started off, I started off with SAP BW 2.x version. So there are several series of numbers, 2.0, 2.1c, several versions of SAP BW that was available at that time. So it is, oh, Mutahira, you cannot see my screen? Can everybody else see my screen? Can you please say yes or no? Can you please type it on the chat? Thanks, Shweta. How about the other? Okay, Mansoor, thank you. So Mutahira, can you please check and see if your settings are all right? Looks like all the others are able to see my screen. Okay, thank you, Manoj. Arita, if you're still on the call, can you please help?
Muthaira, I will call you, don't worry. Okay, just give me 1 second. Someone, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you. So as I was saying, I started off my career in SAP BW in the year 2002, and I started off with the version 2.x. So as years progressed, I started working on SAP BW 2.x projects, and then I moved on to SAP BW 3.x versions. I moved on to SAP BW 3x version. So 3x version, again, it is a common terminology. So there are 3.0b, and the most famous is 3.5 version. So these are the two different versions that were available in 3.x version. And then from there I moved on to SAP BW 7.x versions. In 7.x versions, there are two different versions, 7.0 and 7.3 with BWA. So 7.3 is the latest version of SAP BW, and it contains the most advanced technology for any data warehousing tool that can be provided. So we will get into those details. So before I get so this is my experience with SAP BW. So when I talk about SAP BW, my experience does not just confine to SAP BW. Since it is a data warehousing tool, I actually worked with several modules in SAP. So let me talk about all the different SAP modules that I have worked for. So I'm a subject matter expert in SAP FICO, which stands for Financial and Controlling. I've worked on accounts payable, accounts receivable. I've worked on HRMS systems. I've worked on BPC, which is Business Process and Consolidation, and a little bit of CRM. So in the SAP arena, I have worked on several projects that includes the financial sector, accounts payable, accounts receivable, HRMS, which stands for Human Resource Management System, BPC, which is Business Process and Consolidation, and a little bit of CRM. In addition to the SAP BW qualification, I am also a certified project manager by PMI, and I'm also certified ITIL, which is the certification for change management, information technology infrastructure library. So this is a brief background of myself. So before we move on to the SAP course, I would like to get a quick introduction from everybody. If you could just unmute yourself and state your name and your line of work and what are you trying to gain out of this training. If you could just keep it for a minute or so, that would be really appreciable. So let me just give you okay, let's start with Debjani. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. If you could please unmute yourself and just introduce yourself, that will be great.
Okay. Hi, I'm Debjani, and I'm from Texas, and I'm doing a master's in computer science. So that's it, and I'm very interested in this module. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Debjani.
You're welcome.
Right. Fabiana, I don't see you have a phone connection or a audio setting, so I'm just quickly going to move on to the other person. Gautam, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself? Gautam?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Gautam. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm doing Masters in Computer Science from Wright State University in Ohio, Dayton. So one of my friend Manoj gave me the reference for attending this call. So again, I'm really pretty much new to this one.
Welcome, Gautam.
Thank you.
Katrina, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Katrina, please go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I thought nobody can hear me. Okay. Yeah, I'm actually currently studying, and I'm trying to get into this BW area, and I'm from Australia.
Welcome, Katrina.
Thank you.
Manoj, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey, this is Manoj, and I have been working in IT industry for past almost 20 years, and out of that 7 to 8 years into SAP data migration projects.
Excellent. So are you looking to use your data migration information to get into BW? Is that
Yes.
what you're looking for? Excellent.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Excellent. Thank you. Mansur?
Hi everyone, my name is Mansoor. I live in Orlando, Florida. I have a bachelor's in MIS, Management Information System. I've been working in the benefits administration business. I work with a HR outsourcing giant for the last 7 years. I've always been interested in SAP, but initially the career was too new. Now I'm at a point where I think I have the skills to learn the skill set. So that's where I'm at.
Excellent. Thanks, Mansoor.
Sure.
Mutahira, can you please unmute yourself and introduce?
Yeah, I'm Mutahira and I am from Michigan. I have done masters in business and IT was my major, and it's been a while. I just have my studies. I don't have any experience-wise, like any practical thing, a job-wise thing. I have no background. So somebody told me that this SAP is very new and very demanding in the right now in this IT field. So why should you try this thing and then maybe do something more in this field? So I just want to refresh myself and learn something new. That's it.
Excellent. I think you've come to the right place, Mutahira. So we are here to help you.
I hope so. Yeah.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sanjay?
Hi, it's Sanjay here. I'm from New Jersey area, and I'm in IT industry from past 10 years, decade of experience in pure IT, but I do not have any experience in data warehousing or data mining, anything of that sort. I started my career as a system administrator, I did all the groundwork like installing systems and updating and all those kind of stuff, all hard work there. And then I moved up to storage area. From past 5 years, I'm with a storage company, very big company. I'm in a storage tech support. So most of my day is on phone calls, attending to any storage issues my clients have, So before that also I worked with Sun in technical storage. So basically I have 8 years of technical storage expertise with me, where I troubleshoot and diagnose issues related to products. But I never got a chance to learn with this. Now I would like to change my career because I had enough of telephone work, enough of support work, and it's kind of going mostly towards India. So every time I need to look out if something happens like this, it becomes quite scary here in US. So I want to take a product which is suit me. So I tried SaaS a couple of months back, and I found it to be interesting. But somehow I doubt I could not latch onto it. Then I was talking to my couple of friends, my colleagues whom I support and all those things, They told me SAP is one of the good area where I can put my skills also. So I'm very positive, optimistic, and looking towards Tech to help me out in my venture, and good support from you. Hope I will be as successful as other candidates who are expecting to either change career or jump into this, in bandwagon. So here I am, guys. That's it.
Definitely. Thanks, Sanjay. We are definitely here to help you achieve that. Thank you. Santosh, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, myself Santosh. I have total 9 years of experience, and I worked on business objects from 5 version 6. Currently I'm working on XAR3 as well. So I have experience on XLCS, PLSQL, Oracle DBA, and a few of the ETL tools as well. So currently I'm planning to learn BW so that I can gather all this project experience along with this BW and BO. So that's why I would like to learn BW along with this BO.
Thanks, Santosh.
Yeah.
Shweta, can you please introduce yourself? Okay. So since Shweta is having difficulty with her microphone, no problem, Shweta. So we'll just quickly read out what you have pinged. Excellent. So welcome, Shweta. All right. I think we have covered everybody. Did I miss anybody in the meeting? I see there is a new member, Pavitra. I don't see a microphone associated with that name. And Jay. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Sumant. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Okay. I know Zarantech. Before I already enrolled on another course, which is BODS, and you know the ETL tool. And
Jay,
I'm
you're
doing
breaking
online
up.
training as well. And it's quite probably the internet speed. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Jay. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I've already enrolled with Zarantech on another training called BODS.
Okay.
And I'm just curious to go on BW and I joined here to see the demo. And I have a rich experience on SAP, quite almost 8 years, and as an ABAP development on SD, and I have a little bit of experience on BW as well, some of the projects with Levi's in Singapore. And right now I'm in New Zealand, and yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Welcome. Fabiana.
Okay.
Hi, Fabiana. Can you introduce yourself? Okay, let's quickly go to Pavitra. Pavitra, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey, hi, I'm Pavitra. I'm from PST time zone. I'm looking for this BWBI training. So I'm pretty much new to, sorry.
No worries, go ahead. All right, I think we can get started. So I think we have had a round of introduction. So if anybody had missed on my introduction, it's on the slide. So I've been working on SAP BW for over 11 years, and I've worked on several versions of BW. And in these 11 years, I've had the opportunity to work on several modules across SAP, which are the FICO, AP, AR, HRMS, BPC, and a little bit of CRM. And again, when you get into this training, right now all these names may sound like a foreign term, but as you get through it, as you start hearing more and more about it, they'll become very common terminologies. All right, so let's get started. So for today's presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be talking about a few topics. The idea behind this demo session is to lay a foundation as to what SAP BW is. As the participants have different experience and different knowledge base, we want to set a baseline as to what this training is going to provide, what are the different topics that will be covered as part of this training, and how each and every participant would be benefited out of this training and out of this product itself, which is SAP BW 7.3. That's the idea of the demo session. And as we move on to the next sessions, we will get into deeper concepts of each and every objects and technology within SAP BW. So let's quickly go through the agenda for today. So first we're going to be talking about the SAP BW product itself, what it is, its capacity. So once we do that, I mean, we cannot directly jump into a new tool and expect everybody to understand what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a step-by-step approach, understanding each and every pieces that makes a data warehousing tool or an SAP BW tool. So that's what we're going to try and do today. So the agenda is going to be, we're going to be talking about SAP BW product, its definition, and then we're going to be talking about few common terminologies which are OLTP systems, OLAP systems, the difference between these two systems, and what are actually a data warehousing tool. What does it do? What is its capacity? Once we get to know that information, what we're going to do is, how is SAP BW going to help us as a powerful data warehousing tool? What are the skill sets required to be successful in an SAP BW environment? What is the BW product roadmap? What are its core functionalities? What are its capacities? And then we will, once we have a good understanding or a baseline of what SAP BW is, then we will go on to what this course is about, what are its content, and how is it going to be delivered to the participants. Once you have an understanding of what the course is, then we get on to the roles and responsibilities. After the training, what are you going to be doing? What are the kinds of roles and responsibilities that are available in the market? And once you look at it, you can also look at it from a career progression standpoint. Where would you start and how would your career progress naturally? And then again, we'll look at what are the training features and benefits that are available, and we will go through that in detail. All right, so any questions in the agenda section before I get started? Okay, excellent. So what I'm going to be doing is, I have this demo presentation, but I'm more of a slide person. So what I'm going to be doing is, whenever possible, I'm going to jump and create a new slide, and I'm going to talk and explain the features if possible. If there is anything that is relevant I can use from a demo, I'm going to flip back to the other presentation and show it from there. And if anybody has a question in between, please. I believe there's a, okay. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand, or if you have any question that you want to speak up, just let me know so that I can make you the I can unmute you, or you can continue to speak. All right. So let's get started. So the very first topic that we are going to be talking about is, and that's the highlight of the course, which is SAP BW 7.3. For the time being, let's forget about the version. Let's not get into the version numbering and all that. What is SAP BW? Let's look at the definition of SAP BW. SAP BW is an end-to-end data warehousing solution. So this is the definition of an SAP BW system, and again, BW stands for Business Warehouse. Looking at the definition, let's do one thing. Let's try to separate these keywords and see what they actually mean. So let's go into details of what is a data warehouse. What is end-to-end solution? Let's first talk about the data warehouse and see what is actually a data warehouse. So let me quickly flip back to the other presentation. So as I said, BW is an end-to-end data warehousing solution. The most important keywords in this definition are the data warehousing and the end-to-end solution. So let's take a look at what data warehousing is and what an end-to-end solution means to us. A data warehouse, a data warehouse is a OLAP system. What it means is, let me quickly switch back. A data warehouse is an OLAP system. OLAP stands for Online Application Processing System. in a very high level term, the best way I can define a data warehouse is again a database. It is a database which is structured a little different, which can be used for analytical and application processing system. So this is online analytical processing system, not application, I'm sorry. Analytical processing system. So before we even talk about data warehouse, let's get few concepts about the traditional databases clear. Let's try to understand what a traditional database is, or a traditional or a transactional database is, what its capacities are, and what its limitation are, and why did the organizations, why did they move from a traditional database structure into a data warehousing structure. So let's see what makes a transactional system. A traditional database is also referred to as OLTP system. OLTP stands for Online Transaction Processing System. As the name suggests, it is a database that is structured. It is a database that is structured to save transaction type of data. So let's look at transactional database. So this is what I'm covering. So before we get into the data warehousing, let's look at the traditional database concepts. What a traditional database is, what its advantages and disadvantages are, and what kind of processing system is it, which is online transaction processing system, and what kind of reportings are available on an existing OLTP system. So this is what we're going to cover now. So let's look at the traditional database. So whenever we can think of a traditional database, this is what is happening, right? Let's say I'm going to a bank, I am depositing some money in the bank in my account. So a transaction is happening. As and when a transaction is happening, that data gets stored in a transactional database. This database can be any kind of database. It can be an Oracle database. It can be a Microsoft SQL Server database. It could even be a Microsoft Access database if it's a very, very small company. So a typical transaction is nothing but a data flows from one end to another end in a very straightforward format. So with this traditional database, what's happening is this database is focused mainly on getting the data from the person who is doing a transaction, from the person or from the company which is doing a transaction, and it has to quickly and efficiently put this or save this data in a database. That is all it is trying to do, this traditional database. It is efficient when it comes to inserting data, deleting or updating the data that is available in the database. It is also designed for transactional type data. As I mentioned, every transaction. So if you look at any real-time examples, you go to a Burger King restaurant, you buy a value meal purchase. That purchase is a point of sale purchase. Whenever a transaction is made, that information is stored in the database. So if you look at it, with this kind of information, what kind of data or what kind of reporting is made available? If you look at, so let's move on to the next slide. So let's take a look at a transactional data example. A bank or an online transaction. Let's say we are, as a user or a customer, I am doing a bank transaction. I'm depositing money into an account. The moment I make a entry or transaction into my database, what is happening is it is simply taking the data and loading it into the database in a similar format. All it is doing is it is taking the account number, it's specifying the date on which the transaction is happening, what kind of transaction has been made, whether it is a deposit or a withdrawal, and what the amount associated is. So this is the lowest level of information that can be stored in any system. I made a transaction, that data has directly gone and sat in the transactional database. So with this kind of information as a user, so let's look at it from two different perspectives. One is as a single user. I am a customer of a bank. What with this kind of data that is going into the database, what are the type of reporting that is available to me as a single user? Let's take an example. Let's say I'm doing a transaction. I've been holding an account with a specific bank. I am keeping all my transactions with this account. So what are the different kinds of reporting that I can expect out of it? First thing, let's look at what is my bank transaction for the month of January 2013. This is a very straightforward transaction. This is a very straightforward reporting. All I'm asking is go look at your database and bring me all information for the month of January. That's very simple because the data is already available in the transaction database. It goes and does a query inside and fetches all this information. Very straightforward. It's very possible with a transactional type of database. I can do this kind of reporting. Let's look at the second type of reporting. How many deposits have I made in the month of January? That's a little more specific requirement. But still, since the transaction is loaded at this kind of level, I'm still able to query this transactional database and pull the information for deposit alone. Okay, so these two things are fine. We are able to achieve this kind of reporting using a transactional database. Let's move on to the next question. How is my spending this January when compared to January of my prior year, which is 2012? Would I be able to do this kind of analytical reporting using the transactional data? Hi, is Jay? Did you have a question?
No.
Okay, can you please mute yourself if you don't have a question?
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. All right. So let's look at the third question in a little detail. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to look at the January 2013 transaction and I want to compare it against January 2012 transactions that I have made last year. And I want to see what has been the similarity or is there any pattern associated with my spending. With the traditional transactional database, I would not be able to make such reporting. The reason is when you look at a transactional database, it is purely meant for short volume data. So what it does is, since it has to be very efficient in inserting, updating and deleting transactions, it is meant to store only lesser volume of information. So typically if you look at a transactional database, the volume capacity of a transactional database would be like a 30 to 60 day period. If you go to your own bank accounts, if you go online, if you do a search, if you want to do a transaction search, you will see that in most cases it will only take you back farther for like 30 days or 60 days. If you want for the previous year, you will have to do a special request, and that request will have to be processed by the company and they will send out information. The reason why that is happening is, if you look at this traditional database, it only contains about 30 to 60 days of worth of data. Anything that is older than 30 or 60 days of data will be archived into a disk storage system. It will be archived in a different location, because on a day-to-day basis nobody is going to be using over than 30 to 60 days on a transaction level. So let's look at the next question. Okay, if you see that there is a restaurant expense that's been done for $50 on January 31st, can I do a trend reporting to see all the restaurant based transactions I have done in the past? It's not possible directly with this kind of data available. One is we don't store historical data in the transactional database. The second thing is the structure of data that is stored in a transactional database is not very efficient for analytical type of reporting. So the biggest limitation that we have with traditional transactional databases are, it is only for limited reporting capabilities. It is not available for analytical reporting, or the common terminology that is used is business intelligence reporting. business or intelligence reporting. So this is from a single user perspective. Let's look at it from the other side, which is an organization. So in this case, it is the bank. So let's say, let me take an example. Let's say I'm a bank. I have a banking system that's available in Naperville, Chicago. There is a database, and let's call this database to be an Oracle database. There is also another system that's available in Westmont. This is also in Chicago. So let's say this is using Microsoft SQL Server, and there is one more. There's one more database system sitting in Chicago, which is, let's say, Aurora, and this is also Oracle database. So let's say my role is I am the Chicago, or let's call it even better, I am the Illinois regional manager. I want to know how my different branches are doing, and I just don't want to know how they are doing. I want to get information that is stored across these different databases. I want to bring it into a central repository and use that wealth of information to make decisions that will help run the business, which is in this case the bank. So the bank right now, with the data being stored in 3 different places, it is very difficult for the regional manager to tap into each of these different databases and come up with intelligent level reporting. So let's talk about what intelligent reporting is. Let's say the Naperville area, this particular school district is been doing extremely good. So naturally, when a school district is doing really good, the population there, people will try to buy a lot of real estate. There's going to be a lot of loan mortgage revenue that is going to be generated in that area. Similarly, Westmont would be a very good commercial area. There could be potential for a lot of business level transactions. So if I tap into each of these single databases, I will be getting a lot of transaction level data. But having them independently sitting in different places is not going to make me make decisions at the end of the day. I cannot make decisions saying, okay, we need to generate more loan type of products in Chicago region, or should we be doing more of certificate deposits or something of that nature. So for us to get that kind of information, the data is not readily available in the format that is expected. So what we have to do is we have to do something called as data conversion. What is data conversion is, we take data from all these different sources, in this case these different databases, we move it into another system which is called as a data warehouse. What we are trying to do is, we are trying to take all the transaction level information that is stored in these different databases, apply a different kind of modeling, and I will get into what modeling is in a few minutes. But for just explanation purpose, what I'm doing is I am taking the data that is available in the system here, which is stored in a transaction level. What deposit was made, what date it was made, how much was the amount, and what kind of transaction was made. That's the kind of information that is stored in this. We are taking all this information and we are converting the transactional database. So this is the transactional data. We are converting this transactional data into something called as an analytical data. We are merging all this information from different sources and bringing it under one roof, and that database is called a data warehousing. Once this information is here, now this data warehouse contains a wealth of historical data and also lot of perspective to the data. I can look at the existing data from very different perspectives. I can look at it from customer point of view. I can look at it from bank's point of view. I can look at loan generation standpoint. So there are different perspectives from which I can look at this data warehouse information. With this kind of wealth of information that's available, as a manager, now I can tap into the system, look at all the information that's available, and start creating intelligent reporting. Intelligent reporting. So by doing that, I'm understanding the market. I'm trying to capture the latest data that I have, and also looking at the trends by having the historical information, and providing the company with intelligent information. So this intelligent reporting will help the senior management of the bank, or like the regional manager, to make right decisions for that particular region and generate revenue. So data warehouse is also very commonly referred to as a decision support system, and again it is also called as OLAP, which is online app analytical processing system. As the name itself suggests, this data is used for making decisions and making analytical reporting available. Do we have any questions so far? What a transactional database or a traditional database is, and what its limitations are, and why companies started moving towards what is now popularly called the data warehousing tools, and how that is helping the companies or single customers. Are there any questions so far? Okay, all right. So now that we have established what a transactional database is, what its limitations are, and please don't get me wrong, traditional database is really good. It is designed for a specific reason. It is designed to store data in the format that is sent, and it does a wonderful job. But then as we move on with the art of technology, what we have to do is we have to make sure there is plenty of data available in any company or any organization. It is for the company's advantage that it has to tap into the existing data and make smart decisions out of those data. So that's why companies slowly started building on their existing traditional databases by building a data warehousing platform. By using the data warehousing platform, they're able to make a lot of revenue generation and a lot of smart decisions from a company standpoint. So this is about data warehousing. So if I go back to the presentation, so what we have covered so far is we have looked at the first term, data warehousing. So we now understand what a data warehousing tool is able to do. Now let's look at what a data warehousing tool is all about. Let's get into the details of what a data warehousing tool is. We have understood what the difference between a transactional database and a data warehouse is. Now let's get one step down, talk about what data warehousing itself is. Okay, so if you look at real quick look at the transactional database, this slide covers what it's not suitable for. So if you look at it, it is not suitable for intelligence based reporting. So if you want to do a trend reporting like a year to date, what was my data a year to date prior to this year, or a month prior to this current month? So that is called trend reporting. If I'm going to do a comparison between my existing data for the current year to a previous year or a previous month, I'm doing a trend reporting. Next one is multi-dimensional analysis. If you look at the transactional database, it is stored in a plain low-level information. What transaction happened on what specific date. It does not give me information from a different perspective. It does not tell me how a particular region did by just looking at this particular data. I cannot say how a particular product like a loan mortgage or something like that, how it did based on this data just by looking at the transactional database. So that's called multidimensional because I'm looking at it from multiple dimensions. It could be from a customer standpoint, it could be from an organization standpoint, it could be from a country standpoint, I can be looking at it from a region perspective. So this is called a multi-dimensional analysis. So I'm with the transactional database, we don't have that provision where we can tap into multi-dimensional analysis. Again, getting into forecast and planning. It's not only going back in time and looking at trend reporting. With the current data, the system should also be able to predict what's going to be happening in the near future. Let's say in the next 3 months or in the next 6 months or in the next 1 year. This is very important for any organization in the current world. They need to understand and try to be very competitive so that they can get a better market share in their own competition. They should be able to do planning and forecasting to see what kind of data can be achieved using the existing data. So that is one thing. So when we are not naturally talking about trend reporting, multidimensional forecasting and planning, we cannot just do that with 30 or 60 days of data. We definitely need a larger volume. We need like 2 to 7 years of data on an average that will help us provide all this kind of reporting, all intelligent based reporting. So these are the limitations of a transactional database or a traditional database. So now let's move into, so this is what I was talking about. So in order to overcome this limitation of a traditional database, in 1980s and in the early 1980s, we came up with this new concept called multidimensional databases or data warehousing. The biggest difference between the traditional database and the multidimensional is the structure, the way in which the data is stored is completely different. If you look at the transactional data database, it is all transaction level, but here it is stored in a completely different version. So this is called, whenever a data is stored in a data warehouse, the common terminology of the structure that is loaded is, it's called multi-dimensional data structures. It's commonly referred to as MDM, which is multi-dimensional modeling, and the kind of data that is stored is multi-dimensional in nature. As the name suggests, it provides functionality to look at the same data from multiple perspectives. So that is data warehouse. So let's go into details of what a data warehouse is. So as I mentioned, it is a decision support system. It is mainly the sole purpose of a data warehousing tool is to provide reporting and data analytical functionality. And the other biggest feature is that it is a central repository for heterogeneous data. What I mean by that is, with a traditional database, there is a limitation as to what kind of data can be brought into the system. With a traditional database, normally what happens is it is 1 or 2 sources that sends information into a transactional database. But for us to do multidimensional analysis and trend forecasting and all that, we should not limit our system to just 1 or 2 sources. The system should be designed in such a way that it can bring in data from multiple sources. It can be a flat file that is coming from China, or it could be a data that is sitting in another SAP system, or it could be data sitting in an Oracle database, or it could be something that is sitting in a Microsoft SQL Server database. The data warehouse tool should be able to bring in information from multiple sources, integrate all the data in one single repository, and provide that information for intelligent reporting. So that is the concept of data warehousing. So this is the example that I was providing. So you have 3 different branches. As a manager, I want to provide analytical reporting. I want to see what my trend is and all that. So what I'm doing is I am bringing in a data warehousing solution in between. I get the data from all the transactional databases, and this helps me provide analytical reporting to the organization. Okay. So now that we have understood what a data warehouse is at a very high level, let's see what are the primary functions that are needed in a data warehousing tool. So if you look at the data flow, as I suggested, we are taking data from multiple sources. All the data that are coming from multiple sources will be in different formats. It can be stored in different transactional types. So a transaction can mean XYZ in a particular region, it could mean ABC in a different region altogether. So what we are talking about is it's purely heterogeneous data. There is no similarity between data coming from one source to another source. So what if you look at the data flow? So the first and foremost thing is we want to understand what are all the different sources from which we are going to get data. Once we know that, we should make this data warehouse ready to accept all this data. So what in a very normal terminology, what we would refer to this as designing. We are making the system capable of accepting multiple sources information. So what that means is modeling. What we are doing is we are looking at the several sources that are available in for our organization, looking at all the different file layouts and all different data formats, and we are going to define structures or define tables within this data warehousing tool to make it available to accept all these different data. So that is called modeling. As a modeler, what we would do is we would go look at the source tables and see what are all the things that are required, and we create tables within this system. So for example, I would create multiple tables across this data warehousing system to accept the data from different sources. Now that I have designed my data warehousing objects, I know that I need 10 tables to be structured in a certain way. I have made the decision on modeling. I have understood what my design is going to be. The next logical step for us is how to actually bring the data from a source into the data warehousing tool. The common terminology used for that is ETL. ETL stands for extraction, transformation, and loading of data. So as the name it suggests, what we are going to do is we have several source systems sitting on this side. Let's take the example. Let's say I have several source tables sitting here across the globe. What I'm going to be doing is I have already done my modeling part, which is designing what are all the tables required for bringing in the source system. Now I'm going to be doing extraction. What extraction means is this data warehousing tool will now interact with all these independent databases. It's going to interact with all these databases and extract data from the source systems. So that is the extraction part. Once we are pulling information, as I mentioned earlier, let's say this is the Naperville area. Here, the gender, let's say for example, for a very simple example, I'm saying the gender information that is stored in the transaction is stored as M for male and F for female. Let's say that is how the data is stored in this particular M or F. This is how a gender information is stored. In another, let's take another country altogether, and let's say the same information is stored in a different format. It is stored 1 for male and 0 for female. So when we bring in information from several different sources, we are not guaranteed that all the required information are in the same format or in the same functionality. We don't know that for sure. So every organization has to go through some kind of transformation. So transformation is nothing but applying business conditions on the data that is being pulled from a source system. So let's say when we are bringing these several data from multiple sources into data warehouse, the business requirement is such that we want to store A for male and B for female. This is just an example. So this is the business logic. The business has decided that I can get several different versions of my data, but when I finally load that into my data warehouse, I want to set a rule as to how the data should be residing here. So that is what is called transformation, applying business provided logic to the incoming data. That is transformation. So we know how the system interacts and brings in data, which is extraction. We know how the business rules are applied on the incoming data. The actual process of loading this data is done in the third step, which is loading. So we have established connection, we have provided all the transformation logic. Now the final thing to do is bring in the actual data and make it reside in the data warehousing tool. So we have now looked at the two primary functions of data warehouse. Any data warehousing tool should be able to provide us data modeling functionality, which is designing the end state, how we want to store the information in our data warehousing system, getting the data from multiple sources. How, once we have designed it, how do we extract, transform and load the data into the data warehousing system? So it should be able to provide modeling capabilities, it should be able to provide ETL capabilities. The third functionality, the job does not complete when we load the data into the data warehouse. That's only halfway through. But once the data is available in the system, the most important information that any senior management or any company personnel would be interested is, how can I leverage this data that's available in the system? For that, I would need something called as reporting. So the data warehousing should be able to look into the existing data that is sitting in the data warehousing tool and provide intelligent reporting. So these are the three primary functions of a data warehousing tool. No matter what the tool is, any data warehousing tool is expected to have these primary functions. It should be able to do modeling, it should be able to perform ETL processing, it should be able to provide us reporting. So this is the data warehouse and primary functionalities of a data warehouse. Any questions so far? Okay, all right.
So, Ashman, this is Jay.
Hi, Jay.
Just I have one small question.
Sure.
DW has got a ETL tool on it, isn't it?
That is correct.
Okay, then why do we have the exclusive product from SAP, which is BODS?
That's a very good question. I'll go to it as we progress through the demo session, Jay. So what I'm doing right now is I want to be impartial to the tool. I don't want to talk about any tool at this moment. The reason is I just want to lay the foundation of what the data warehousing functionality itself is. If you can wait for a few more minutes, I'm going to be going into different categories of data warehousing, and I'm going to explain what the advantages and limitations are. And there you will understand why SAP is going with certain tools.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Would that be okay? Thank you.
That should be okay.
All right. Yeah. So now that we have understood what a data warehouse and what its primary functionality is, this is not specific to any particular tool. We are not at this moment. We are not talking about SAP BW, or we are not talking about ETL tools like Informatica or modeling tools like Irwin CA tools. Nothing. We are not going to be talking about or reporting for Cognos. We are not talking about any specific tool related topic. This is just to understand what data warehousing and what it can do. Now that we have understood what data warehouse is, it's not one flavor data warehouse. There are different categories to a data warehousing tool. So let's quickly look at what are the different data warehousing tool categories that we have. If I move on to the next slide. So this again, if you look at this slide, it quickly talks about what I just explained. So when you take a transactional data from a source system, there are several steps. The first step is you have to convert, and I will quickly touch upon what ER model and MDM model is, because when we actually go into the first and second sessions, that's what we are going to be talking about. We want to make sure that everybody participating in the training has a very good understanding of what a ER model and what MDM model is. So when we talk about a traditional database or a transactional database, the database design or the structuring of the tables is done by something called as ER model. ER is nothing but entity relationship model. That's used for traditional databases. But as I said, when you come into data warehouse, you have to wear a different hat. You have to look at the data from multiple perspectives. So a ER model would not be sufficient to provide that kind of solution. So what we do is we do something called as MDM modeling, which is multi-dimensional modeling. So that's what we are talking about. So step 1, we convert the ER model into a MDM model. This is the first functionality, which is modeling. We do the modeling, we create the MDM structures for the data warehouse, and we store it. We put them in the data warehousing tool as different tables. The second step is we extract data from the source system, transform the source according to the business logic, load the data into the data warehouse. Once the data is sitting here, what we can do is we can generate analytical reporting on top of the data warehouse. So now let's look at the different versions or different categories of data warehousing tools. So for a lack of better term, this is what I came up with. So the first and foremost category that I would refer to is leveraging traditional databases, which is in-house resources. The second option is mix and match using third-party tools, and the third category is end-to-end data warehousing. So let's look at each of these, because right now we are not talking about any tool. We want to understand what these 3 different categories are and what their advantages and limitations are. That's when we will know why a specific tool is being used in an organization. So let's move on to the first one, which is leveraging the traditional database. So let's take a typical scenario. Let's say there is a small organization. It only has about 200 employees, and it's a shop that runs Oracle database and Microsoft SQL database. It's a very small to mid-sized company. They don't want to invest big time money on going into a full-fledged data warehousing tool. So in this case, what they would do is this company has already spent a lot of money building their traditional or transactional databases. So these are the transactional databases that they have created. But they really want to be very competitive in the market. They want to use the data that is available to provide analytical reporting. With the existing structure, they cannot provide analytical reporting. As you all know, it is transactional in nature. So what they're going to do is they are going to create something called as an in-house data warehousing model. When I say in-house, what they're doing is they're not basically buying any extra proper data warehousing tool. The company is going to spend a lot of money training their in-house resource to understand the data that is sitting in the transactional databases, and using the ER model, convert this data into a different structure if possible within the traditional database itself, and bring it to a structure which is similar to data warehousing. So they are not using all the full functionalities. They are going to take the existing databases, which are Oracle and Microsoft SQL. They are going to do modification to the tables that are existing, create much more new tables, and bring it to a structure that is similar to a data warehouse. Sorry, Ashok, is that Ashok who's speaking? Do you have a question, Ashok?
No, I don't have a question. Sorry.
Okay, could you please mute yourself?
Oh.
Thank you. All right. So talking about leveraging traditional databases, the reason, if you look at it, the company doesn't want to spend too much money. They want to tap into the existing data or the existing resources that is available in the company and come up with some intelligent reporting with that. If you look at this system, as the name itself tells us, since it is using existing resources, it's going to have some lot of limitations in the functionality it is providing. But if you look at the advantage, initially if you look at it, you would think that using existing resources would provide low cost to the organization. I don't have to invest millions of dollars buying a new data warehousing tool. But if you look at the other side of the coin, there are significant disadvantages to going with this option. The biggest and foremost thing is, if the company is not going with a data warehousing tool and creating all of its own data warehouse, it has to create its data warehouse from scratch. It has to spend a lot of time and resource to create this data warehouse. Nothing is given to them. They have to just look at the source data, which is Oracle database and Microsoft SQL, and they have to come up with all their functionality. let it be modeling, let it be ETL processing, let it be reporting. They have to come up with everything from scratch. This is a very time consuming process. So that leads us to the second big disadvantage. Time to deliver a product, a data warehousing product, is very long. When I'm talking about time to deliver, it's the life cycle development process. So when you start a project, from the start to the finish, that is making it go into production, is going to be significantly longer. And by doing that, initially it might look like the company is cutting on their cost, but they are actually losing a competitive edge over their competitors. If a similar company of a similar size is buying a data warehousing tool and spending less time on delivering the product, they have first mover advantage to the data that is available in the market. They are able to provide much more intelligent reporting and use that information to generate revenue. So these are very good important points that are seen as limitation in this kind of category of data warehousing, which is the company itself is coming up with its own data warehousing tool. The more and more we are seeing data warehousing tools available in the market, the less and less companies are actually going with this option. There are very few companies, very small companies that still use this kind of approach where they build everything in-house. Apart from all these disadvantages, we also have to look at scalability. When I talk about scalability, maybe this year this company is a very small company, it has 200 or 500 employees. In the future, let's say in 2 years down the line, the company is going to be becoming bigger. When it grows, what it's going to do is it's going to tap in more data. It's going to add more databases and more sources to the system, to the organization. At this point, when a structure similar to data warehouse is created, the in-house resources are only looking at the existing data. It is not possible for them to predict how the future is going to be, what are all the different sources we are going to get, and design a model that will adapt or be scalable to all the different sources. So what will happen is, as and when it grows and it is providing more sources, they have to go spend more time in revamping this entire modeling and data warehouse functionality. So initially it might sound to be cost effective, but if you look at it from a return on investment standpoint, it is actually one of the most least preferred options. So this is the leveraging the traditional database or in-house resource category for data warehousing. So we have seen the advantages and disadvantages. Let's look at another scenario, which is called the mix and match using third party. So now we are talking about a small to mid-sized companies. They have a large base. They have understood what are the different sources they have. They've also understood the complexities of building everything on their own. So they don't want to go that route. They don't want to leverage the in-house resources. But at the same time, they don't want to be spending a lot of money buying new tools. So what they're going to be doing is, they will be tapping or using some of the third-party tools. So the company would have had interactions with other companies, understanding what they are trying to do, and they would have suggested that, oh, this company XYZ, we have been using a modeling tool called Irwin. We use this tool for bringing in, designing the data model for our data warehousing system. We look at all the multiple sources we have, and this tool provides us the functionality to create the data model or a designing structure. So this company goes and buys the data modeling tool. Again, somebody else also recommends that there is a very good ETL tool available in the market. So this company goes and buys another third-party tool called Informatica, which is famous for ETL processing. Again, for reporting, it can buy another third-party tool called Cognos, which is also a very popular reporting tool. So this company goes and buys all these different third-party tools. The advantage is, so when compared to the in-house resources or the first category that we looked at, these tools are available in the market. So they come with some kind of already pre-packaged functionality. They know how to adapt to different source system. They know how to get data from source system. These tools have been in the market for several years. So they have looked at industries and they have tried to accommodate the different functionalities that would be required across multiple organizations. So these are, if you look at it, the biggest advantage is we don't have to create the data warehouse from scratch. We have these tools in place which can be leveraged to look at the sources and bring in the data into a data warehousing system. In this case, they want to use the Oracle database database itself as the data warehousing tool, which is possible because Oracle is also a data warehousing tool. It provides data warehousing functionality. But let's look at the disadvantages of going with third-party tools. When you look at third-party tools, what is happening is the company is investing money on three different technologies, each coming from a different vendor. This is coming from Computer Associates, this is coming from Informatica, this is coming from Cognos. So it is first expensive to buy three different third-party tools. One is cost, one is the initial establishment cost. But if you look at the other thing, when you talk about data warehousing and all that, as I said, whenever there is growth in the company and whenever the database or the tools are growing, correspondingly there will be additional requirements to make your system bigger. When you have to make the system bigger, all these tools will have to be maintained and upgraded accordingly. So let's say, for example, CA next year decides that it has spoken to a lot of industries and decided to add a lot of new features to the existing tool. So they have to go for an upgrade. They will do a Irwin upgrade. So once the company does an upgrade, the company will start selling the upgrade feature to the organization. So the company eventually will have to do maintenance and upgrade on each of the tools that they have bought. So that is going to become a very big nightmare. Now at this point we are looking at possibly maintaining three different tools at any point of time. Every year there could be potentially three minimum upgrades that we will have to do for Irwin, for Informatica, and for Cognos for reporting. So that is very time consuming and very expensive also. Maintenance takes away a lot of money, budgeting money from a information technology department. So that is another big disadvantage. Again, data compatibility. Though these tools have been in the market for a long time, these two are definitely popular tools, but they are not popular enough to be talking to all possible source system available in the market. It could be a mainframe system, it could be SAP systems, it could be non-SAP systems, it could be traditional databases, it could be any system, it could be a Java web service system, it could be any kind of source system. So these tools, though they are available in the market, it is not guaranteed that all of them can provide compatibility and they can talk to all the possible sources available in the market and be able to bring in data. So there could be some limitation with data compatibility. Again, data integrity. So this is a third-party tool. So this third-party tool is only concerned about modeling. This third-party tool is only concerned about ETL processing. This is only concerned about Cognos reporting. This Cognos reporting does not care what is happening at the modeling level or at the ETL level. So the data that is flowing into the system, there is a potential for a data integrity issue. That is, a data coming from a source system could be interpreted one way, but when it actually comes and ends into the data warehousing, it could be into a different version of data. So the data integrity issues can rise because these three tools are different independent tools. So these are the limitations of going for a third-party kind of data warehousing tool. So this is the second category of data warehousing tool. So let's look at the last and final category of data warehousing tool, which is what I refer to as end-to-end data warehousing tool. So now let's look at what an end-to-end data warehousing tool means. I want a tool which is a data warehousing functionality, but I don't also want to be going into different third-party tools to get my modeling piece, get my ETL processing, or get my reporting functionality. I want to be able to do everything in one place. I want one-stop shop that will provide the complete data warehousing solution. So that is where SAP BW system comes into play. So SAP BW, if you remember when we started this demo session, we started talking about the definition of SAP BW. It is an end-to-end data warehousing solution. So we understood what a data warehouse is. We are now talking about what an end-to-end solution is. So what the SAP BW functionality provides is, it is the #1 data warehousing solution in the marketplace. It contains the data warehouse in it. It also contains the tool required for modeling. It contains the tool required for ETL. It also contains a suite of reporting functionalities. And Jay, to answer your question, what I'm going to be talking about what you had asked for. So now let me talk about what SAP BW is going to be doing for us. SAP BW, as the name SAP suggests itself, SAP is the #1 ERP tool in the world. ERP standing for Enterprise Resource Planning. An Enterprise Resource Planning tool is nothing but it is the best tool for integrating multiple data into a system. So let's take an example where I have financial systems, financial data sitting in one region. I have human resource data sitting in another region, and I have logistics information sitting in some other region. SAP, being an ERP system, which is Enterprise Resource Planning, it is capable of bringing all these resources, which is financial, logistics, HRMS, and integrate them in one system so that all the information is available in one place. That is the concept of ERP system. And SAP system is the #1 market leader for ERP and data warehousing solution. And I'll explain as to why SAP BW is referred to as the #1 system for data warehousing solution. So now that you are looking at this screen, we understand that the SAP BW has capacity to do full-fledged modeling. It has capacity to do ETL processing, and it can also do reporting. So as an organization, I don't have to buy several different tools to do my data warehousing functionality. Everything is available under one umbrella, which is the SAP BW. Now, looking at the process, let's say we have several sources that is having data. I can go into the modeling in SAP BW, design all my modeling requirements for my data warehouse, and create structures in my data warehousing system. Once I do that, I have my ETL functionality within SAP BW, which can bring in data from all the sources that are available and bring that data, do the transformation, and load the data into the BW system. Again, once the data is now residing in SAP BW, I have a whole suite of reporting applications that is available in the market in SAP BW that can be leveraged to provide the intelligent or analytical reporting. So Jake, to answer your question, reporting, when we talk about reporting, SAP, when I say that SAP, the reason why SAP BW is considered to be the #1 data warehousing solution is, as you know, the three primary functionality: modeling, ETL, and reporting. SAP BW as a tool should be the best when it comes to modeling. It has to be best in ETL and best in reporting. Only then it could be called a market leader when it comes to data warehousing. Prior to 2007, what we had in SAP BW is we had the great modeling functionality. It was comparable and even better than Irwin tool or anything that's available in the market. SAP BW system has and had the best ETL processing. It is compared with Informatica and other data stage and all that, and it is still far better than those ETL modeling. But when it came to reporting, prior to 2007, SAP had something called as a Business Explorer suite. The proprietary reporting tool that SAP BW was housing was called the BEX suite. BEX is basically a Microsoft Excel based reporting tool. So as you know, when we talk about Microsoft, there are some limitations as to what it can provide. So when it came to reporting arena, SAP BW was lagging a little behind when compared to business objects or compared to Cognos. So what SAP company did is, in the year 2007, they acquired business objects. They saw that the only place where SAP BW was lagging behind was in the reporting arena, and they wanted to acquire the biggest and the best tool that's available in the market and bring it into SAP BW. And that's why if you follow the history of SAP BW, around 2007, the time when SAP bought business objects tools, it for a short period of time it converted its name from SAP BW, which is Business Warehouse, to a SAP BI, which is Business Intelligence Platform. The reason behind it, because once business objects were acquired, we brought in the entire reporting suite that BO or the business object system was providing, and that became a proprietary tool of SAP BW. Ever since SAP bought BO into the SAP platform, SAP BW has been considered the #1 data warehousing tool, and that's why you see that when we talk about SAP BW, we talk interchangeably. We use the term BO and BI. The BW primarily provides the modeling and ETL functionality, and with the marriage of SAP BW with the business objects, we are interchangeably talking about reporting as BO or BW. That's why we've been calling it BO system or BO BI intelligence or BW system. Does that answer your question, Jay?
Oh, I just want to. I'm having a different thing. Like the SAP BW has got ETL tool on it, and is there a reason why we have exclusive ETL tool in SAP, BODS?
Right. So as I suggested, what happened is, see, when SAP acquired BO system has been developing lot of in-house functionality. So when BO business objects was primarily used in the market, when it was a standalone company, what happened is it was primarily focusing on reporting. It was primarily focusing on creating universes. It was primarily focusing on providing crystal reporting, formatted reporting. It was looking at providing dashboard reporting. But at the same time, the company also wanted to become a data warehousing tool. So to become a data warehousing tool, it had to increase its capacity on modeling and ETL processing, right? Only if it had the three functionalities, it would be referred to as data warehousing. So the business objects also started creating something called as the BODS system, which is Business Objects Data Services, which is an additional ETL capability. So now BO has been bought by SAP. The SAP system has the inbuilt ETL processing. Let's say there is a scenario where the in-house SAP BW system ETL capacity is not able to deliver a result that we are expecting. So in this case, we have the additional functionality now. Now I can, as a BW user, I can also tap into the BODS ETL functionality. I can see where can I bring in the best efficient way of doing the ETL.
Okay.
So in the future, what will happen is BODS and this ETL will also be interchangeably called, because we can either use this ETL or we can also use BODS, whichever we think is appropriate for the requirement. Okay, Jay? Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
So, hi, Suman. This is Santosh.
Yes, Santosh.
Yeah. So as you said, like you can use this BW and BODS for ETL purpose. So which one would you recommend for a performance level, either this BODS or BW?
See, it again depends on your requirement, right? See, let's take away BODS for the time being. Even without BODS, the BW system has been in the market since 1998. It has been in the market for several years, and it has been a market leader in data warehousing. So it has all the capabilities of an ETL processing. But in the later part of the 2000, the business objects also started focusing mainly on ETL capabilities. So it is like any other new tool, you know, as they progress, as they make advances, they try to look at the existing shortfall or limitations in any system, and they try to overcome that by adding a new tool. So in this case, business objects was looking at all the different tools available in the market, and they were trying to do an analysis on what is missing or what is the shortfall in any specific data warehousing tool. How can that limitation be overcome using my BODS system? So that is how the business objects went into ETL processing. So what I would suggest is for bringing data from any SAP sources or any Oracle table or any Microsoft SQL databases or anything, you can either use the provided SAP BW tools, or we can also, let's say if it is a new data warehousing project that is created in the organization, at that point it doesn't make any difference. You can either tap into the existing data warehouse SAP BW ETL processing, or you can use the BODS. With the BODS being a new functionality, they have pre-packaged a lot of information. So when I spoke about data compatibility in previous slides, I was talking about the system being able to handle all the sources, right? All multiple sources. It could be a mainframe or it could be any other source. So when this SAP BW ETL capabilities was built, it looked at the current list of source systems available, and it brought up this ETL processing. So there could have been a gap after this ETL was created. There could have been some gaps in the source system that was missed out. So those all are captured in the BODS functionality also. So it is a choice and a requirement. Since BODS is now having a little more functionality pre-packaged into it, the tendency would be that if it is a new source that is coming outside SAP Arena or something else, we will look into BODS and see the existing ETL, and we'll see which one makes much sense for the requirement and which one will provide or deliver the product in the shorter period. And based on that, a decision will be made.
Suman, sorry to interrupt you. And as far as I know, that BODS has